right, good evening. One more time, good evening. Just three times for good measure. Good evening.
Good evening.
Excellent, thank you. Good evening and welcome students, staff, faculty, alumni, and friends. We are so excited to be with you as we look back at 15 years of community-centered, multicultural, and diversity education. My name is Lisa Gray, Associate Director of Student Diversity and Inclusion within Campus Life. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm so excited to have you with us tonight. We invite you to move forward with us as we co-create social justice-infused intersectional inclusion, support, and advocacy for all UMBC students. Our hope is that our 2018-2019 programmatic theme, Looking Back, Moving Forward, honors our past and our current partners in this work, while it inspires new community members to spread our mission to be socially aware and responsible members of our community, and our vision of engaging in learning and dialogue across differences in identity, values, and experiences at UMBC. By doing so, we will help everyone become visible and heard. We will encourage more inclusivity and equity, and ultimately, we will co-create a beautiful, multifaceted mosaic on our campus and beyond. A living work of art that makes room for our invisible identities like educational status, religious affiliation, spirituality, mental ability, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, and gender identity, while honoring the power of our visible identities like race, ethnicity, national origin, and physical ability. So let the celebration of our masterpiece begin. Now please join me in welcoming Lily Keplinger, our Mosaic intern for Cultural Humility and Allyship Development, who will introduce our featured speaker. Lily?
Good evening. My name is Lily. As Lisa said, I use she, her pronouns, and it is my pleasure to introduce our featured speaker for this evening, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski III. Dr. Hrabowski has been the president of UMBC since 1992, not 22. You're not that old. You're not that old. All right. Not yet, right? Not yet. A few more years. His research and publications on science and math education with special emphasis on minority participation and performance have led him to serve as a consultant to national agencies, universities, and school systems. Additionally, he has been awarded numerous accolades such as America's Best Leaders by U.S. News and World Report, 10 Best College Presidents in 2009 by Time, and 100 Most Influential People in the World in 2012. The establishment of the Meyerhoff Scholars Program in 1988, woo, years are hard, y'all. I'll get it, right? Yeah. Which he co-founded with Robert Meyerhoff, served as a catalyst for UMBC to be recognized as a model for inclusive excellence that is demonstrated every day through the work of the Mosaic Center and its many campus partners. Dr. Hrabowski is an amazing leader, and we're privileged to have him here at UMBC. Please join me in welcoming our featured speaker, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski.
Wow. Somebody figured out how old I would be if it was 1922. I said, it's probably how old I feel right now, all right? I am delighted to be here. Let me start by congratulating all of you. You know, when I got the call about this, the first thought I thought about was that we have 15 years can pass so fast. It's amazing. In 2004, and it always gives me a sense of perspective. How many of you were under 10 years old in 2004? Wow, that is perfectly disgusting. I want you to know that. Perfectly disgusting. I knew that was going to be the case. I really did. And I always do that to get perspective on things. Let me start by give Lisa Gray a round of applause for all that she does. for all that she does. I'm very proud of her, and all of you. 15 years ago, and I saw some names here, and I could really appreciate people who are going to be speaking. I know Jess is here somewhere from the Women's Center. I know that Fred Pincus is to be here, for example. I know that the new chair of LLC, Language, Literacy, and Culture, will be coming, Kimberly, and my eyes are bad, so I can't see people in the audience, so you may be there already. But so many of you are leaders in this space in many ways, and I had a number of thoughts. And there was a student at that time who had been a mentee of mine since he was in high school in inner city Baltimore, and Michael Hunt. Is Michael here somewhere? There he is. Give Michael a round of applause, would you? And I start with a notion that I was walking out of my office, and I looked at the most recent issue of Diverse, and I saw this wonderful picture of Paul Robeson. Some of you may know who he is, some may not. He was Phi Beta Kappa at Rutgers, and he went on and got a law degree. He was a football player, but he was really known as a great singer, an amazing singer. But the reason I brought it up, and I said this to Lisa, when I was reading the article, it reminded me that wherever he was, whether he was a scholar, had been an athlete, was this amazing gifted singer, this attorney, he took the notion of social justice with him. And it's something I want to say, and it was, some of you may not know, that Michael Hunt has this voice that can make anybody cry. And he takes, and even though he was a math major, he was determined to do other stuff in inclusion. And the idea of social justice, that regardless of your major, I just met students who I thought were sophomores and juniors, some have already graduated. But what's interesting is they were from all kinds of majors, and Lisa, and to all of you, what was so powerful was this notion that as I walked in and I saw BSU and African students and the Women's Center over here, and we see so many other groups, and LGBTQ, and we think about religion, and we think about all the ways in which we are different. The first point that I want you to think about is this. We are still in the middle of an experiment in this country and in our world. An experiment that says, can we bring people together from all kinds of backgrounds with different points of view who are different in many ways? If I said to you, my pronouns are he and him, and I meet somebody else and they don't know what I'm talking about, it says they've been in certain settings and not in others, for example, and they need to be educated about that. That I was hearing that language years ago on the West Coast, more than the East Coast, quite frankly, in many ways. And the idea for me has been this. In this experiment, really over, if you say from the 60s, you can go before that, but really from that period of bringing people into education, of thinking about ways in which people are different, whether it's about religion or about gender, all the differences, the physical challenges that people face, that race matters, that ethnicity matters, that we need to understand those perspectives, that we're just beginning to understand human nature and what it means when we talk about LGBTQ. The idea is this, that the Mosaic Center, when we think about them, when we think about the Interfaith Center, when we think about the Queer Student Lounge and all the different groups that come together, the Women's Center and others, our campus has been a part of this experiment in different ways over our 50-year history, but it's only been in the last 15 years that the power of community led to groups that became more visible, more coherent in the approach, in thinking it through. I don't know how old, for example, I know that the Women's Center, how old is the Women's Center now? Because we had our 25th a couple of years ago, right? And then Language, Literacy, and Culture, how old is the LLC? There she is, that's Dr. Moffett. 21 years old. She just came off leave, so give her a round of applause for coming back to us. I was a little worried that she, but 21. And then there's a Gender and Women's Studies department. Well, how old? Anybody know? And that was Carol and others. This is my point. There are so many areas on our campus that for you who came in the last few years, it looks like it's always been here, but it's not. That it has taken, in every case, people fighting for different things to make things happen. I see Kim in the back of the room in Res Life. You know, she and Nancy have fought for years to bring things here. And there's so many of you around the room. I want you to keep this thought, that when we think about social justice education, and when I think about Mosaic, when I think about LGBTQ, when I think about Interfaith Center, all celebrations, we're all preparing to go to the next level of fighting the fight for what's right. When I think about social education, social justice education, it has two meanings for me. One is that we should be a university, a space in which people are treated fairly with respect, understanding their differences, understanding in ways in which we are together, that we are humankind, but also appreciating the need to meet the needs of every group. And not assuming we know people simply because they come from one group or another, that there are individual characteristics in each of these groups. And I say this for this reason. If we are creating this environment that promotes inclusive excellence for every group in here, whether you're from another country, whether you are first generation college, whatever the difference might be, then if we are successful at UMBC, it should mean that you can say, after you've been here a year, after you leaving here, people cared about me. They respected who I am. They understood that I might be different from the next person. I bring my own strengths to the table. And if you said to me, well, has UMBC arrived? I would say no. I like the term culture of humility. I think we're all evolving. We're all evolving. And the more we know about humanity and human behavior and the challenges of discrimination and racism and all the isms that we have, the more we realize there's so much more to know. That we need to keep asking the questions. Somebody was saying to me, it was interesting, the Washington Post article about the larger campus and the problems they're having, and they were complimenting me. This was after somebody else had sent me an article, and I said, let me say this. I'm so proud to be at UMBC. There's so many people fighting the fight, but it's just that. We're fighting the fight. That even on our campus, there are ways in which we can be much better. And any place that thinks in the country that it has arrived is starting to go the other way. And so I want to challenge us to think about, as our faculty, our staff, and our students, and our alumni, the question is, are we doing all we should do to bring social justice about? All of that means something very different. I love the kinds of series of programs you have on diversity and the dialogue series, on social justice dialogue, on how to be a better ally workshop, on the Paw Talks, the Mundo Lingo, the Safe Zone programs, all of these, the workshops that facilitate presenters for other discussions, because we need as many authentic discussions as possible. We need opportunities for people to feel challenged and supported in being who they are and in their identity. And I would suggest that today we need more of all of this than ever before. People are so comfortable being amazingly discriminatory, racist, sexist, homophobic, out loud. We went through a period when people were a little uncomfortable doing it, but because of what we face in our country right now, and you know exactly what I mean, at the highest of levels, people are even so unenlightened as to make fun of somebody with a physical challenge. Do you get my point? And so what am I saying? I'm saying that whether it is about gender, whether it is about LGBTQ, about immigrants, about the challenges we face as black people, as Hispanic people, Latino people, Asian people, people of color, in all those ways and more, we need to be providing the education that allows our students to prepare to be in a world that will be far less fair than we might want. I see this in the larger society all the time. We can be better, but we can prepare people to go to the next level. I want to close with a story because I had been talking with different students about challenges they were facing, and a student had a major challenge and wanted to talk to me about it, and he wanted to see if I was going to be disappointed in him. And he had been talking to his family, and when he saw that my love was real, that I wanted him to be who he is, I could see the relief. And then when I suggested that there was somebody I wanted him to talk to, a mentee of mine, who could be helpful, and I asked the mentee if it would be okay, and the mentee said, anytime I can help, I will. And so I'm going to surprise somebody, and especially because that person got all these A's in chemistry after all of what happened last semester. So Autumn, I want you to stand for a minute. Would you please give Autumn a round of applause, would you? And I tell you that story because it was Autumn when I asked if she'd be willing to talk to somebody for me, and her was, yeah, of course I would. Of course I would. Now, in every setting, there are people who need our help. our support. In every setting, there are students who come from families or backgrounds where people may not be as accepting or as supportive. And whether we're talking about all the things we talked about, we should be the place, the Mosaic, Interfaith, the LGBTQ, the Women's Center, all these places, the different associations that will say to every student on this campus, to every colleague, we believe in you. With authenticity, with a kind of passion that says we are only as good as human as our connection to the next. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And I was not born in 1922.
I can confirm he was not born in 1922. Yes, it's my bad. So at this time, I'd like to invite Becca Mann up to talk.
Sorry, y'all, I lost my shoe. Hi, everyone, and thanks for being here again this evening. And thank you, Dr. Rabowski, for your inspiring words. Your impact has so much influence on what we do in the Mosaic. My name is Becca Mann. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Mosaic intern for gender equity, social justice, and inclusion. At this time, I'd like to introduce Dr. Nancy Young, who is the Vice President of Student Affairs, who will give us greetings from the Division of Student Affairs. Dr. Young has served as the Vice President for Student Affairs at UMBC since July 2007. In addition to leading campus life, her divisional leadership includes athletics, career services, the Counseling Center, the Center for Democracy and Civic Life, residential life, student conduct and community standards, UMBC Transit, and University Health Services. All of this responsibility keeps her so busy that she often runs home in the middle of the day just to her dog, just to get a break. Dr. Young is passionate about fostering a campus community in which all students feel valued, engaged, and safe. In times of inclusion-related crisis, she not only emails her condolences, but shows up to the Mosaic to personally offer support to students and staff. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nancy Young.
Oh, low blow, low blow. I am Nancy Young, pronouns she and her. And I'm delighted to be your introduction to dinner, but also, I think, to some of the program that's right in front of you in your booklets. Dr. Brittany Brown, who I have the pleasure of working with in my office, told me today as I was preparing comments to just throw them away because she knew when I got here I would simply start talking from the heart because that's what I frequently do, and she was not wrong. Because as I'm sitting here listening and I hear that story about my dog and I look about this room, I was sitting and thinking about one of my early workshops that was coming out of the Mosaic, and we had an outside facilitator in, and I was having one of those days when the weight of the world sat on your shoulders because something really ugly had happened in the world. And then I look and I see us surrounded by balloons, and I remember what this facilitator said to me when I said, I've got to get back in there and get to work, and why I sometimes take that break, like all of us should. And it was, whoever told you that when you're doing important work, you don't need to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. So before I say anything else, I would like to thank those whose shoulders we stand on tonight, whether Michael Hunt or some of the other early people that are with us tonight that worked in the Mosaic Center. I know that Aaron will thank many of the people in the Mosaic Center later. But it struck me because I'm also reading things that I know many of our students are looking at. And I just got finished reading The Hate You Give and listened to an interview. And I'm going to tie this together in just a minute from the author. And someone described her as intelligent, her writing as intelligent and unflinchingly honest. but most importantly, written from the heart. And when I heard those words, it might describe the author, but it describes the staff in the Mosaic. And what Lisa Gray has so often reminded me, and what I'd like to remind everyone of together as we go to dinner, is that the important work we do is important. That's why we call it important work. That's what the adjective means. But it's also some days heavy and hard. And it's really important that we take care of our hearts. And so no matter what we talk about this evening or what brought us here, tonight is a celebration. Because when you do this work, it's important to stop and recognize where we've come from, looking back at the many things that people have achieved and where we're heading. So I am going to throw out these words and all of the things we said, but I'm keeping a piece of what I wrote because it really does matter. I was raised in a Baptist church, and we were very fond of saying the church is not a building. It's the people who gather there. And the Mosaic is not a center. It's the people who have created it and the people that are on the room. So Michael Hunt is the Mosaic, thank you. Lisa Gray is the Mosaic, thank you. Carlos Tercios and Aaron Waddles, who has more recently joined us. I want you to pull out your booklet, do it. And I want you to look at all the pictures of all of the people that are in that booklet, our interns, our student employees. They are the Mosaic. The students that told me that they came tonight because the Mosaic is their safe place. You are the Mosaic. Everyone in this room is the Mosaic. And as we look back, I hope we will celebrate what we have accomplished together. Because a mosaic is a piece of art or a piece of thing, pragmatic thing we may walk on or decorate with. But for the Romans, it captured a piece of their story, their history, and what they thought to be true about their culture and important artifacts. And when we put those pieces together, we are creating that picture. You have created it. And your conversation at dinner tonight will be about what we want it to look like in the future. So make sure you take that piece. Make sure you're working with the facilitators at your table, because we want to dream ahead as much as we are looking back. And so tonight, we ask you to reflect as you eat together, as you celebrate this community that we've created together. What does moving forward with the Mosaic mean to you? As we share bread, let our dinner conversations move us forward in our collective hopes and dreams for the Mosaic, UMBC, and all of the communities we share. As you heard from Dr. Rabowski, it grew out of many people in this room who care about social justice with intellect, with heart, and with unflinching honesty. Thank you for being here. Please celebrate, and please share your best ideas, and stay with this group and with our community to walk us into a truly amazing future. Thank you so much, and I think, who's going to take us to dinner, Elise? Okay, and so in just a moment, enjoy your meal. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Hello. I'm back. I hope everyone's enjoying their evening and your food. My name is Karina Kiewat Villagran. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I've been at the Mosaic for about 1.5 years now, originally as an ambassador. Currently, I'm the Mosaic intern doing outreach with our Hispanic, Latinx, and Indigenous student communities. I'm now going to present to you a video featuring all of our current Mosaic staff and our experiences at the center. This is an abbreviated version of the entire video, which will be available online in the upcoming weeks. I would like to thank Katie and Adan. They're not right there, but that's their table from Common Vision. Oh, they're right there. Yes, hey. Okay, from Common Vision. For assisting us with the recording and publication of this video. I hope all of you enjoy this video. We had a lot of fun making it. Thank you.
I think working in the Mosaic is great because of the skills that I've gained while I've been working in the center. The Mosaic is a safe space, I think, for students and for staff and all of us as staff members to have hard conversations with each other about the things that are happening in our day-to-day life. We all come together and share a lot of valuable information, not only as a staff, but along with the students. At any time you can walk in and find us in a deep conversation or we'll be laughing. And I think we're all really dedicated to creating a space where students feel comfortable and are able to come talk about things that they can't in their day-to-day life potentially.
The role of a multicultural center on a college campus is mainly to develop a sense of community and inclusion, while also giving a space where people can freely express their identities. This space is also a place where people can learn new aspects of culture. And for me, this is a great opportunity for me to go outside of just my identities and engage with students who are very different from me.
I wish some students knew that the Mosaic Center was a place where they could get support items and also a place where they can just relax.
Something I wish all students knew about the Mosaic is that the interns are not the only ones that do outreach with populations. It's also Carlos, Lisa, and Aaron who on a regular basis dedicate time and energy to working with student groups on campus. My most memorable moment in the Mosaic was in this space actually. We were all sharing our personal experiences with one another, and we were being very vulnerable and personal that a couple of us just started crying, and I think it was crying in solidarity with one another. I think that's what this space is, what it resembles, what it stands for. So that's what's most memorable to me.
You don't have to be a huge social justice warrior to interact with us. You can just come and sit in the lounge or do your homework, or even just start by having a small conversation with our students here. And I think that's really special. We have something for everybody. We have a drag show, we have discussions, you can come to a lecture, we have simulations. So there's a lot that you can engage with, and there's something for everybody.
So my main focus is religious organizations, and I've gained a lot of insight on various religions, just how to be an ally, and I've also noted and voiced race and gender and how that influences religious organizations and spiritualness.
I believe that the QSL and the IFC are spaces that recognize other identities that are also important, such as LGBTQ+ identities as well as religious identities.
For us, it serves as an extension of the Mosaic. It's important to recognize that diversity and inclusion goes way beyond one center, and it's also different ways where students can interact and engage with us. It just gives us more options. Moving forward, I'd really like to see the Mosaic continue to expand on identities such as disabilities or ones that aren't represented as often here at the Mosaic, as well as seeing more people with STEM backgrounds entering this center. Lately, it's been a lot of arts and humanities, so definitely a variety of majors would be really great for the center.
Multicultural centers are a great place to teach people about everyone's differences, and then what brings people together. And that's what I hope places like the multicultural centers on campus here teach people, especially since I know not every university has one, and I think that's a great opportunity.
I am a theater major, and working with the Mosaic has exposed me to different cultures, different stories, and different identities. I am also particularly interested in the portrayal of gender identity and ability status in theater and media in general.
So when I first started college, I was originally a STEM major. I was focused on bio. It wasn't until I actually started working in Mosaic that I realized I actually had a passion for that, and it actually helped broaden a lot of my interest.
I guess the main challenge that I've faced working in multicultural work is primarily having to take a step back and realize that the world is bigger than just UMBC or just the US. And even though I'm aware of that, but really living that, especially when things like the travel ban happened and DACA and TPS, like I personally got affected by TPS because of my father. So that was a moment where I had to step up, but also be mindful of my own challenges that I was facing and having to be a resource, but also having to find resources for my father.
So I think the reason why I got into student affairs, particularly doing diversity and inclusion work, was mainly because of my past experiences and my journey getting into UMBC. So as a little kid, I always saw myself as an outsider because of the different identities that I held, whether it being the child of two immigrant parents, being queer, or growing up in a working class household. And it wasn't until I got into UMBC that I recognized that I was able to build community with those that had similar identities as myself. It wasn't until I became a grad student that I directly became involved in the center as one of the Mosaic interns, doing outreach with our Latinx Hispanic populations. I've loved it so much that I've stayed here since then as an undergrad student, as a grad student, and now as a staff member. And I am proud to say that I have been a part of building this greater community, but understanding that this work takes everyone, and it goes way beyond ourselves in the center.
So when I think about my personal journey and how that led me to do diversity and inclusion work in student affairs, I think about really being a child growing up in the south suburbs of Chicago in the 1970s, and always feeling a little bit outside of where everybody else was. It was those early days of my life and formative years that really helped me develop a curiosity, I think, for people who were not just like me, but different. And so what that did for me was help me to, I guess, realize a little bit of the outsider experience, such that I did not want others to kind of feel that they did not have a place, or that folks did not have the freedom to choose how they were to define themselves, rather than just simply allow other people to define them, label them, or box them in. Ultimately, I do diversity and inclusion work in student affairs because I'm a mom, and I'm a citizen of the world, and I'm a member of the human family. And I want my world to come as close to being as equitable and as supportive and accepting as it possibly can be, not only for myself, but for my child and all of the students and staff and faculty that I work with and other community members. I hope the same for them. I stay hopeful about the possibility of equity and social justice for all. And that's what keeps me doing this work in student affairs. So there you go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight with us. Can we give one more round of applause for our students and as well as Lisa? I know some of our folks on our student staff roster are a little bit camera shy, so I know it took a little bit of energy to get us to film this piece. And again, thank you, Katie and Adon, for putting this all together. So again, my name is Carlos Tercios. I am one of 2 coordinators for student diversity and inclusion within Campus Life. I use he, him, his pronouns. And I'm excited that you are all here and that you are all part of tonight. And I'm actually bringing up a piece that is going to be the piece that kind of lives on beyond tonight's events. So back before when Aaron had to join us for our staff, I know Lisa and I were just discussing about this event coming. We had, I remember the first planning date we had was like on Valentine's Day last year, because it took so long to put all this together. And we were thinking that we needed to have a piece that kind of commemorated this moment and really evoked how we get our work done, and that's by our partnerships and in community. So we devised the plan, and after Aaron joining us, as well as our students kind of bouncing off ideas, we kind of came together with creating an idea for creating our own mosaic. So feel free to look into your program on page 24. Where it has the full description of the program. I will not be reading that directly, but if you'd like to follow that. So you may notice that at every one of the round tables there is a jar filled with Talavera tiles. And what's unique about all of them is that they all have rough edges. They were essentially broken when they came in. And we wanted them to kind of serve as a metaphor for showing the fact that we are not perfect as individuals and that we continue to work together despite the fact that we might not necessarily be perfect. In the end, we all come together to kind of fit one big piece, and it's okay that we have those unique qualities. So we also hope that the chemical changes that the tiles undergo through their handmade production also serves as a metaphor for the internal, transformative, and difficult changes that occur throughout our own personal journey of identity development, and that each tile kind of represents you as an individual, whether it being that you're a student, alum, staff, or faculty member in the room. Pardon. So we called this, we decided to title this project the Mosaics 15 because once this project is completed and grouted, our diversity and inclusion staff team are going to develop 15 goals and aspirations as communities, as commitments that promote our social justice infused intersectionality-based access and inclusion-based education to be displayed in the Commons second floor along with this art piece. So before we begin, I would like to personally thank Laura Shraven from Common Vision and her husband, Greg Shraven, from UMBC's theater department for the design and creation of our frame. I know we met several times trying to figure out what tile worked best or what materials would be best to create this project, and I'm really happy to see this next step before we see the final product. So I invite you now to take part of this communal art piece by contributing your tile in creating our beautiful mosaic. So please go ahead and at your tables and pass around the jar and then pick the tile that speaks to you. And I want that to be the tile that represents you, and we will have instructions on how to place them up. I'm okay with kind of folks coming up by column again, if that's easier. So we can start with the furthest column from me this time to put them up onto the frame. So, quick instructions. Please sign on the map board. If you are a UMBC alum, please write the year that you graduated, or if you're a student, please write your expected graduation date. And then place the tile, glue the tile onto the wooden plywood piece. So with that, I'll let the folks from the furthest column to come here, and I'll have a student come up here to assist if you have any questions. Thank you.
So, good evening. Hello. My name is Erin Waddles, and I am the second coordinator for student diversity and inclusion. I use she, her pronouns. Thank you all so much for participating in the creation of our commemorative art piece. Just a couple of reminders before I do some acknowledgements and thank yous. We just want to remind you to fill out your evaluations. We take that feedback very seriously as we refine and recalibrate our programming. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the partners who made this celebration and our work possible. That includes our featured guests, Dr. Rabowski and Dr. Young, our 15th anniversary committee and support staff, Kelly Birch, Maisha Crone, Katie, Candace, Lloyd, Tirza, Michael, Meshach, Danilo, Arlisa, Laura and Greg Shraven, Campus Life's Common Vision and Campus Life's operations staff for the production of our marketing and helping us to run this event smoothly. Herrera Cortez for taking the lead with the creation of our beautiful program and booklet, and all of our marketing as well, with assistance from Tirza Khan, who also took on the task of handling our social media, and the new media studio staff for recording all of our events. And everyone else who I may not have mentioned, please charge that to my head and not to my heart, because we truly value all of your support and all of your partnership. Last but not least, we would like to thank our Mosaic student staff, our honorary Mosaic student staff, and the Campus Life office assistants. Lisa, Carlos, and I are proud, honored, and grateful for you all to have been a part of our team. To everyone else that we did not mention by name, please know that your presence is invaluable and appreciated. Speaking of presence and the value appreciation, we would like to also let you know that our Grit Starter link is up. Our Grit Starter is called Funds for Diversity and Inclusion Initiatives. The funds that we raise, and our goal right now is $5,000, but of course we will take more than that, is going to be used to support programs, outreach, and initiatives for traditionally marginalized populations. You can access that link at gritstarter.umbc.edu/mosaic15. Again, thank you for your presence, and we look forward to partnering and engaging with you in the future. I would like to turn it over to Michael Hunt for our closing remarks.
Testing. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. As we wrap up today, let me just say, on behalf of the students who've worked with Mosaic and everyone in this community, let's give a round of applause. Where's Lisa, Aaron, Carlos? Y'all come up here real quick, please. Come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up. And so we want to say thank you for what you have done and what you continue to be to this community. I want you all to know, as an alum of this great place, and when you come back and you sit, and as Nancy took us through the book, and even Bev earlier, we were just reading through and how we were in awe of what you all do, and let me be honest, with so little. And we want you to know how grateful we are to you. And that, as we stated earlier today at the event, that we are all in this together. And so even as alum, and we actually started it today. So I put the call out at the meeting when we gathered, and I asked for 4 other people to give $100 to get started, and we raised over I think it was 600 once we left. So we already have $600 raised And I know that 300 is already posted. So if you go on there, you'll see that folks have already. And Bev said she's going. And so we know that people are going to do it. So we're not just saying it to you, but this is a way that we can show you that we have your back and that we want to support you as you support not just the students, but even as a staff. And even, I would say, even before I became on staff, as an alum, I came back to campus and Lisa opened up her space and her time to meet with me and just talk with me as I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on with my life. And Lisa was there, and we talked, and we had time together. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a special, sacred time. And so I want you to know that on behalf of us all, that we appreciate you all. All right? Let's give them a round of applause once more. Y'all can be seated as I close. Thank you. And so I just want to say these final words as I close today. This has been an exciting time to be back here, to see I think take a moment and I think of people who have been a blessing to this space. And thank you, Nancy, for acknowledging that. And those who have passed on, the ancestors who laid a foundation for this space. I cannot leave this space without calling the names of Patty Perillo, who had a vision for diversity and inclusion at UMBC. And before she left, just made sure that space was made. I can't leave without saying how grateful I am to Norma Green, who was the first coordinator of the Mosaic Center, and who looked at me when I was here and I would come visit her all the time. She did one of those, who was that, Sylvia? Is she still in here? Sylvia, I had the same experience because I was in that space all the time, and then Norma was like, you need a job, come do something. And I was the first person that she hired, along with a colleague, Lisa Richards. And we were the first sort of cultural peers at UMBC. I cannot help but think of the folks like Lamont Tolliver, who mentored me in a way. And one I shared with a story earlier. I won't go into the story today, but there was a time when I thought more of myself than I should have been. And Mr. T, as he was known, called the Cultural Center looking for me and told me about myself and got me in check and became somebody that I knew would not only be a father figure in his voice, but a mentor and even someone I emulate now as I advise students. All these folks were a part of what makes the Cultural Center what you're experiencing now. And so we can't leave this space without calling those names. There are probably many others that I don't know or that I didn't have the chance to experience even after I left. But may we always remember that we stand on the shoulders of giants. We stand on the shoulders of those who have paved the way. And one of the things, and I call you again, Nancy, earlier today, you said, we're standing on your shoulders today, Michael. And that means something. Because something I often tell my students is to remember that it's not when you die that you are someone else's shoulders. And I am just above words to say how honored I am to be here, to know that I can still live and know that you're standing on my shoulders. And I say that humbly, and I say that with gratitude. And so as I close, there's as we look at this month as African American History, Black History Month, the Black National Anthem has a part in the song that said, "Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us." If the truth were to be told, this cultural center was created out of a dark place, a place of inequity, a place where even during that time when we were a student, there was a hiring freeze happening and students were protesting because the multicultural center director had left and the university did not, they say they had a plan, but we ain't see no plan. And so they felt as though there was no plan for the work of multicultural to continue. And for us, even as students and those who long for places of love and respect and a place where we could just be ourselves, it was a dark place. But yet there was a faithfulness with the work and the diligent work of administrators and students and alums who said, no, we're not going to stay in this dark place. We're actually going to move. And then the next part of that song says, sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. And so even as Lisa reminded us, and as we developed the theme for tonight, that the question is, where are we going? We know that we know where we've been and we know where we are. But the question we have to ask ourselves and ask each of you to be a part of that conversation. And there's not many places you can go where they will actually want you to be a part of that kind of conversation. And yet UMBC provides that. The Mosaic and the Interfaith and the Queer Student Lounge provides that, where we all have a stake in this and we all can share the hope and the presence. And then the final part of that verse says, let us march on till victory is won. The reality is, even in Mosaic's theme, that we have to keep marching, we have to keep dialoguing, we have to keep with the critical cultural exploration. We have to keep empowering until victory is won. And that victory is won when we can all stand and sing together. Not only that we've made it, and not only that we have survived, but that we have learned from one another, and that we love one another. So I send you forth tonight, keeping that in mind, that our work is not just, and we talked about this earlier today in our smaller group, that our work isn't just to listen to each other, but our work is actually to learn from and implement those things that we are sharing with each other. We wish you all a great night, and we ask that you continue to lift and love the Mosaic Center, the staff, the students, and let's continue this work for another 50 years to come. All right. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, can you all hear me? All right, I personally want to take a second. I'm Lily, if you forgot who I am, hi. So I'm graduating in a short, 3 to 4 months. And I know you all want to get home, so I'll make this quick. But in a place where we are always thanking others, I'd like to take a second as a student intern and thank Carlos and Aaron and Lisa. Lisa, thank you for your guidance and your continual kind of steering us in the right direction whenever we get off track. Carlos, Aaron, all of you, honestly. Thank you for the laughs that you've brought us and the love and the care that you provide every day. Carlos, thanks for holding the ship down before we had Aaron, and Aaron, thanks for joining us and, making us as great as we are. So I love you all, and I'll miss you a lot, and I say on behalf of all of us that we will miss you. So thank you for everything, and now you all can go. Thank you.